Students, here is week 6 and it's me Anju Malik and it is the week 6 day 2. We are having our third chapter, that is Umayyad dynasty. Yesterday you have learned about the conquest of Spain. Now you are going to move another interesting topic, that is Islamic culture and civilization. It is actually the spread of Islamic culture and civilization of the Umayyad dynasty. So objectives of the lecture of today's topic is to learn about the Islamic culture and civilization, the success criteria, to watch the video carefully, which I will provide in the for today, and to read the text carefully, which it is about the textbook of your book, and to underline the important points. After the reading of the textbook, you have to underline the points, and after watching the video, you have also have to jot down the important points. So to get some idea about the Islamic culture and civilization, I have a documentary about it. Watch the documentary carefully and jot down all the important points with you.
Hi, man.
Hi, David.
So what we're going to do in this video is talk about the cultural spread of Islam. Where are we and when are we right now?
So we are around the early 7th century.
Okay.
And here we see the Byzantine Empire, which at the time was still a continuation of Rome. So this is like the Eastern Roman Empire.
Right.
And it's an aging empire. And we also have Sassanid Persia, which started in the 3rd century and is still continuing into this period.
Right, so we've got on the timeline, it's going beyond our start point here.
Yep, so these are two very powerful empires who often are in tension with one another. As you can see, they neighbor each other. And around this time, they're involved in some pretty powerful struggles here.
Right, so in 628, it leads to a lot of instability within Sassanid Persia.
Certainly, and in some ways as well, the Byzantines are weakened by how many resources they've exhausted in these tensions as well. So certainly the presence of Islamic or Muslim rulers in these areas certainly did affect the culture of these places. But what's more important is sort of the ways in which Islam slowly integrated with some of these cultures, and that happened through trade, through missionaries, and also through pilgrimage routes that happened, emanating out from Mecca. And these religious ideas weren't static. As they moved through different areas and as they moved through different routes, they changed and they started to take the shape of the local culture and the local flavor as well.
So let me pull up some trade routes. These were the active trade routes of the period. And you can see this is a continuation of the Silk Road. It goes all the way from Rome to China. This is Xi'an, which was then known as Chang'an. This is the imperial capital of at least 10 different Chinese dynasties. There's also a very large mosque here.
So here we have the Great Mosque at Xi'an, and what's really interesting about this mosque is that it really fuses a lot of Islamic and Chinese ideas. So for example, it still sort of has the structure of an imperial building and the way that the courtyards are set up.
Sure.
But instead of following sort of the rules of feng shui, it is oriented towards Mecca, which is the direction in which Muslims look when they pray, but it still has a very Chinese character.
Right.
And this makes sense because these trade routes basically had to go through the Islamic Empire. And so as people traveled, so did ideas, and those ideas transformed along the way.
What's next on our whistle-stop tour, man?
Let's look at the mosque in Janneh.
Okay, so Janneh is in what is today Mali. It's just south of Timbuktu, or Tombouctou as it's called today. So it was a great center of Islamic learning. And in Janneh is the site of the world's largest mud brick building, the Grand Mosque of Janneh. Let me pull it up. It's a really incredible building that gets at a lot of elements of Malian culture. So this is the Grand Mosque of Janneh. There's a mud brick building. We have an article about this on Khan Academy in the art history section. What's really cool to me about the Grand Mosque of Janeh is the way that it incorporates Malian traditions into Islamic tradition. So you can see on top of these spires, and some of these spires are minarets from which issue the call to prayer. You can't see it in this detail, but there are little ostrich eggs on
Ostrich
top of.
eggs?
Yeah, in Mali, ostrich eggs represent purity and fertility. And so even within the constraints of building a religious building, there's still expressions of local culture.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how that spread through trade, but it also spread another way, which is through pilgrimage, through missionaries, through preachers, and that also took on the local traditions in interesting ways. So let's go to South India.
Okay.
Near Kerala.
So this is the Cheraman Juma Mosque. This is supposed to be one of the earliest mosques in history. Its construction dates to about 630.
Yep, 629 to be precise.
Thank
and
you.
This was actually during the life of the Prophet, and it's quite far from Mecca, so it's really fascinating how quickly it traveled there. But it traveled with a preacher, and as we can see, this is a very distinctly Indian mosque. Another way that Islam traveled through preachers was through Sufis. So let's talk about Sufis.